On November 14th, 1998, the members of the Tectonic Theater Project traveled to Laramie, Wyoming to conduct interviews with the people of the town. Over the course of the next year, we would return several times and conduct over 200 interviews. The play you're about to see is edited from those interviews, as well as from journal entries by members of the company and other found texts. Company member Greg Carrado.
My first interview was with Sergeant King at the Laramie Police Department. When we started the interview, he was seated at his desk. Something like this. I was born and raised in Laramie. My family is third generation. My grandparents moved here in the early 1900s. We're third. Well, my daughter makes us fourth generation. It's a nice place to live. Good people, lots of space. Now, the towns in southern Wyoming are spread out due to the fact that the railroad came through here. It's exactly how far the train could travel before it had to stop to rewater and refuel. And Laramie was a major stopping point. That's why the towns in Wyoming spread so far apart. We're one of the largest states in the Union, but we're also the least populated.
There's so much space between towns and people here. So much time for reflection.
Rebecca Hilliger, head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming.
You have an opportunity to be happy in your life here. I found that people were nicer here than in the Midwest where I used to teach because they were happy. They were glad the sun was shining, and it shines a lot here.
Now, first you have your traditional old-time rancher types, and they've lived here forever. For them, Laramie's is sort of a hub where they can pick up their supplies and other stuff.
Stewardship is one thing all our ancestors taught us.
Eileen Engine, rancher.
And if you don't take care of the land, well, you ruin it, and you lose your living. So you first of all have to take care of the land. Do everything you can to improve it.
I love it here.
Doc O'Connor, limousine driver.
Couldn't put me back in that mess out there back east. Best thing about it's the climate, the cold, the wind. They say the Wyoming wind will drive a man insane, but you know what? It don't bother me. Well, sometimes it bothers me, most of the time it don't.
And you have your university population.
I moved here after living in a couple of big cities.
Philip Dubois, president of the University of Wyoming.
And I loved it there, but you know, you have to be crazy to let your kids stay out after dark. Here, in the summertime, my kids stay up till 11 o'clock at night, and I don't even think twice about it.
And then you have the people who live in Laramie, basically.
I moved here from rural Texas.
Zachy Salmon, Laramie resident.
Now, in Laramie, if you don't know a person, you will definitely know someone they know. So it can only be 1 degree removed at most. And for me, I love it. I mean, I love to go to the grocery store because I get to visit 4 or 5 or 6 people every time I go. And I don't really mind people knowing my business because what's my business? I mean, my business is basically good.
I like trains too, they don't bother me. Well, sometimes they bother me, most of the time they don't. Even though one goes by every 13 minutes out where I live.
Doc actually lives up in Bosler, but everyone in Laramie knows him. He's also not really a doctor.
They used to carry cattle them trains, and now they carry your diapers and cars.
I grew up in Cody, Wyoming.
April Silva, university student.
Laramie's better than where I grew up. I'll give it that.
It's a nice place to live. Good people, lots of space. Now, when that incident with the boy happened, a lot of people from the press came up here, and one day they followed me out to the crime scene. And now it was a beautiful day, absolutely gorgeous. You know, the sky was that color blue, well, you'd never be able to paint it, you know, it's just sky blue, you know. And then the mountains in the background, a little bit of snow on them. And this one reporter lady, person, she came up to me and she said,
Well, who found the boy? Who was out here anyway?
and I said, oh, well, it's about a place to run, and mountain biking big up here, and horseback riding, and, well, it's close to the town. And she just looked at me and she said,
Well, who in the hell would want to run out here?
and I'm like, lady, you're missing the point. I mean, all you gotta do is turn around, see the mountains, smell the air, hear the birds, you know, just take it all in. But these people were like, nothing but a story. And now I didn't feel judged. I just felt they were being stupid. They're missing the point. They're just missing the whole point.
It's hard to talk about Laramie now. To tell you what Laramie is for us.
Jedediah Schultz.
If you would have asked me before, I would have told you Laramie's a beautiful town. Secluded enough that you can have your own identity. A town with a strong sense of community. Everyone knows everyone. A town with a personality that most larger cities are stripped of. Now, after Matthew, I would say that Laramie's a town defined by an accident, by a crime. We've become Waco. We've become Jasper. We're a noun. a definition, a sign. And we may be able to get rid of that, but it'll sure take a while.
Journal entries. Members of the company. Andy Paris.
Moises called. He said he had an idea for his next theatrical project, but there was some somberness to his voice, so I asked him what he was about. He said he wants to do a piece about what's been happening out in Wyoming.
Stephen Belber.
Lee told me the company was thinking about going out to Laramie to conduct interviews and that they wanted me to come, but I'm hesitant. I have no real interest in prying into a town's unraveling.
Amanda Gronich.
I've never done anything like this in my life. How do you get people to talk to you? What do you ask?
Moises Kaufman.
The company has decided that we should travel to Laramie for a week and conduct interviews. I'm a bit hesitant about taking 10 people on a trip of this nature. Must make some safety rules. No one works alone. Everyone carries cell phones. I've made some preliminary contacts with Rebecca Hill, head of the theater department at the university. She's hosting a party for us our first night in Laramie and has promised to introduce us to some possible interviewees.
I must tell you that when I first heard you were thinking of coming here, when you first called me, I wanted to say, you've just kicked me in the stomach. Why are you doing this to me? But then I thought, that's stupid. You're not doing this to me. And more importantly, I thought about it and decided that we've had so much negative closure on this whole thing. And the students really need to talk. When this happened, they started talking about it, and then the media descended, and all dialogue stopped. You know, I really love my students because they are free thinkers, and, well, you may not like what they have to say, and you may not like their opinions because they can be very redneck, but they're honest, and they're truthful. So there's an excitement here. There's a dynamic here with my students that I never had when I was in the Midwest or North Dakota, because there was so much Puritanism that dictated how people looked at the world, that a lot of times they didn't have an opinion. You couldn't get them to express an opinion. And quite honestly, I'd much rather have opinions that I don't like and have that dynamic in education. There's a student I think you should talk to. His name is Jedediah Schultz.
I've lived in Wyoming my whole life. My family has been here, well, for generations. Now, when it came time to go to college, my parents can't. Well, they couldn't afford to send me to college, and I wanted to study theater. And I knew that if I was going to go to college, I was going to have to get on some kind of scholarship. And now there's this competition, this Wyoming State High School competition, and I knew that if I didn't take first place in duets, that I was not going to get on scholarship. And so I went to the theater department at the university looking for good scenes, and I asked one of the professors. I was like, I need a killer scene. And he was like, here you go, this is it. And it was from Angels in America. And so I read it, and I knew that I could win best scene if I did a good enough job of it. And when the time came for the competition, I told my parents so that they could come and see me in the competition. And you have to understand, my parents have been to everything. Every ball game, every hockey game, everything I've ever done. And when I told them, they sat me down in their room and they told me that they would not come to see me in the competition if I did that scene. Because they felt that strongly about it, that homosexuality is wrong, that they would not come to see their son do probably the most important thing he'd done to that point in his life. And I didn't know what to do. I'd never, ever gone against my parents' wishes. So I was scared. But I decided to do it. And all I can remember about the competition is that when we were done, me and my scene partner, we came up to each other and we shook hands, and there was a standing ovation. Man, it was amazing. And we took first place, and we won. And that's how come I can afford to be here at the university, because of that scene. It was one of the most incredible moments of my life. And my parents weren't there to see it. And thinking back on it, I think, why did I do it? Why did I oppose my parents? Because I'm not gay. So why did I do it? And I guess the only honest answer I can give you is that, well, I wanted to win. And it was such a good scene. It was like the best scene. Hey, do you know Mr. Kushner? Maybe you could tell him.
Company member Greg Parati.
We arrived at Denver Airport and drove to Laramie. As we crossed the Laramie border, I swear I saw a herd of buffalo. And I thought it was strange that the Wyoming sign said, Wyoming, like no place on earth, instead of Wyoming, like no place else on earth.
Company member Lee Fundakowski.
We stopped at a local inn for a bite to eat, and our waitress said
around. But I promise I won't slap you if you leave your elbows on the table.
Today the company tried to explain to me to no avail what chicken fried steak was.
Now, you from Wyoming or you just passing through?
We're just passing through.
Company member Barbara Pitts.
We arrived in Laramie tonight. Just past the Welcome to Laramie sign, population 26,687. The first thing to greet us was Walmart. In the dark, we could be on any main drag in America, fast food chains, gas stations. But as we drove into the downtown area, past the railroad tracks, the buildings still looked like a turn-of-the-century western town. Oh, and as we passed the University Inn, on the sign where amenities such as heated pool or cable TV are usually touted, it said, "Hate is not a Laramie value."
Greg Perrotti.
I met today with two longtime Laramie residents, Marge Murray and Allison Mears, two social service workers who taught me a thing or two.
Well, what Laramie used to be like when Marge was growing up, well, it was mostly rural.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it, you know. My kids all had horses.
Well, there was more land then. You could keep your pet cow, your horse, your little chickens. You know, just have a little bit of acreage.
Yeah, I could run around the house in my all-togethers and do the housework while the kids were in school. Nobody could see me. And if they got that close.
Well, then that's their problem.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I got the expression right. In your all together.
Well, yeah, I mean, why wear clothes?
Now how's he going to use that in his play?
Now I understand that Laramie was a big ranching town.
Oh, not just ranching. Laramie was a railroad town at one time. Before they moved everything to Cheyenne and Green River and Omaha. So now, well, it's just a drive-through spot for the railroad because even, what was it, in the 50s? Well, they had one big roundhouse and they had such a shop you could build a complete engine.
They did. My mom worked there.
Your mom worked there?
Yep. She washed engines. Her name was Minnie. We used to, you know, sing that song for her. You know that song.
No, what song?
Run for the roundhouse, Minnie. They can't corner you there.
Wyoming is bad in terms of jobs. I mean, the university has the big high whoop-de-doo jobs, but Wyoming, well, unless you're a professional, the bulk of the people are working minimum wage jobs.
Yeah, I've been either in the service industry or bartending most of my life. Now I know everybody in town.
And she does.
And I do. Now, that I'll tell you. Here in Laramie, there is a difference. There always has been. What it is a class distinction. It's about well-educated and the ones that are not. The educated can't understand why the ones that are not don't get educated. That's why I told you before that my kids had to fight. Because the mother was a bartender. Never mind who was the best damn bartender in town.
And she was.
That's not bragging. That's fact.
But I'll tell you, if it weren't for the university, we'd just be S-O-L.
Well, what's SOL?
Well, do I have to say it? It's shit out of luck. Oh no, you're writing that down. Boy, you are getting an education today.
Yeah, I guess I am. So, what was your reaction to what happened back in Shelby?
Well, I've been close enough to the case to know most of the people. I have a daughter that's on the sheriff's department. As far as the gay issue, I don't give a damn one way or the other, as long as they don't bother me. And even if they did, I'd just say, no, thank you. That's the attitude of most of the Laramie population. You might poke one if they do drinking, you know, they were in a bar situation. They might actually smack one on the mouth, but then they just walk away. I'll bet most of them would just say, I don't swing that way. Whistle on about their business. Laramie is live and let live.
I'd say that Marge probably knows a lot more, except she's even willing to say it. We have to respect her for that.
Well, where are you going with this story anyway?
Oh, well, we haven't quite decided that yet, but we do know we want to try and bring it back to Laramie.
Well then, there are parts I won't tell you.
Company member Andy Paris.
Today, for the first time, you met someone who actually knew Matthew Shepard. Drew Steger, owner of a small shop in town, referred to him as Matt.
Matt used to come into my shop, that's how I know.
It was the first time I heard him called Matt instead of Matthew. Well, did he go by Matt to everyone?
Well, on the 2nd of October, I get a call about 10 after 7.
Doc O'Connor.
It was Matthew Shepard. He said, can you pick me up on the corner of 3rd and Grand? So anyhow, I pull up at the corner to see who, you know. It's a little guy, about 5'2", soaking wet. I bet you 97 pounds tops. Said he weighed 110, but I wouldn't believe it. They also said he was 5'5", but this man, he was really 5'2", maybe 5'1". So anyhow, he comes up to the window and, well, I'm gonna go into steps here so you can understand the principle of this man. So he comes up to the window and I say, "Are you Matthew Shepard?" And he said, "Yes, I'm Matthew Shepard. But I don't want you to call me Matthew or Mr. Shepard. I want you to know that my name is Matt, I'm gay, and we're going to a gay bar. Do you have a problem with that?" And then I said, "Well, how are you paying?" The fact is, Laramie doesn't have any gay bars. And for that matter, neither does Wyoming. So he was paying me to take him to Fort Collins, Colorado, about an hour away. Matt was a blunt little shit, you know what I'm saying? But I liked him because he was straightforward. Well, maybe gay, but straightforward, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. How does any one person ever tell about another? You really should talk to my sister Romaine. She was a very close friend of Matthew's.
We never called him Matthew, actually. Most of the time we called him Choo Choo. You know, because we used to call him Matt Choo, and then we just called him Choo Choo. But whenever I think of Matthew, I always think of his incredible beaming smile. I mean, he'd walk in and he'd be like, and he'd smile at everyone. He just made you feel great. And he would like stare people down in the coffee shop, because he always wanted to sit on the A seat so he could talk to me while I was working. And if someone were sitting in that seat, he would just sit there and stare at them until they left. Then he would claim his spot. No, but Matthew definitely had a political side to him. I mean, he really wanted to get into political affairs. That's all his big interest was watching CNN and MSNBC. That's the only TV station I ever saw his TV tuned into. He was just really smart in political affairs, but not too smart in, like, common sense things. So he moves to Laramie to go to school.
Matt was very shy when he first came in,
John Peacock, Matthew Shepard's academic advisor.
to the point of being somewhat mousy, I'd almost say. He was having some trouble adjusting, but this was home for him, and he made that quite clear. So his mousiness, his shyness, gave way to a person who was excited about the track he was about to embark on. He was just figuring out wanting to work on human rights, how he was going to do that. And when this happens, a person starts to bloom a little bit. He was just starting to say, wow, there are opportunities here. There are things I can do in this world. I can make a difference.
I did hear from Matthew about 48 hours before the attack, and he said that he had just joined the gay and lesbian group on campus, and he said he was enjoying it. You know, he was getting ready for Pride Week and whatnot. He was just totally stoked about school. Yeah, he was really happy about being there.
And in retrospect, and I can only say this in retrospect, of course, I think that's where he was headed, towards human rights, which only adds to the irony and the tragedy of all of this.
Now let me tell you something else here. There's more gay people in Wyoming than meets the eye. I know for a fact, but they're not particularly the queens of gay people. The queens, well, the run around faggot type. You know, they're the type that jump on horses, brand and kick ass. And as I always say, don't fuck with a Wyoming queer, because they will kick you and you're fucking ass. but that's not the point of what I'm trying to say here, because I know a lot of gay people. I know a lot of people, period. I lived up here about 40-some-odd years, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think Wyoming people give a damn one way or another if you're gay or straight. That's just what I just said. Doesn't matter. Now, if there's 8 men and 1 woman in a Wyoming bar, which is usually the case, you get to thinking, now who's getting what? Now, geez, it don't take a big intelligent mind to figure that one out.
My understanding when I first came here,
Catherine Connolly.
is that I was the first out lesbian or gay faculty member on campus. And that was in 1992, so it wasn't that long ago. I was asked during my interview what my husband did, and so I came out then. Do you want a funny story? When you first get here as a new faculty member, there's all these things you have to do. And so I was in my office, and I noticed this woman called. I was expecting, you know, it was a health insurance phone call, something like that, and so I called her back. And I could hear her. She was working on her keyboard, clicking away. I said, you know, this is Kathy Connolly returning your phone call. And she said, oh, it's you. And I thought, this is bizarre. And she said, I hear you're gay. I hear you are. And I was like, uh-huh. And she said, I hear you came here as a couple. I'm one too. Not a couple, just a person. And so she was a kind of lesbian who had heard I was coming, and wanted to come meet me immediately. She later told me that there were other lesbians she knew who wouldn't be seen with me. That I would irreparably taint them. That just to be seen with me could be a problem.
I knew it was going to be hard living here as a gay man.
Jonas Sloniker.
But you know, I kept telling myself, people should live where they want to live. So I would go down to Denver and I would go to the gay bars, and I'd meet gay men. And every once in a while, someone would ask me, where are you from? And I would say, Laramie, Wyoming. I met so many gay men who were like, I couldn't live there. How can you live there? I had to get out. But you know, every once in a while, I meet this one guy who would be like, oh, Laramie. I remember Laramie. I miss Laramie. And you get this starry-eyed look in his eye, and I'd just be like, look, if you want to live someplace, do it. I mean, just imagine if there were more gay men who lived in small towns. I guess it's easier said than done.
Today we're leaving our motel and heading for the Best Western.
Moises Kaufman.
My hope is that it's a better Western.
Amanda Cottage.
Today we divided up to go to different churches in the community. Moises and I were in the Baptist church. We were welcomed into the services by the Reverend himself, standing at the entrance to the chapel. This is what I remember of his sermon that morning. My dear brothers and sisters, I am here today to bring you the word of the Lord. Now I have a simple truth that I tell to my colleagues, and I'm going to tell it to you today. The word is either sufficient or it is not. Scientists tell me that human history, that the world is 5 billion or 6 billion years old. After all, what's a billion years, give or take? The Bible tells me that human history is 6,000 years old. The word is either sufficient or it is not.
Ah, the sociology of religion in the West.
Stephen Meade Johnson, Unitarian minister.
Dominant religious traditions here. Baptist, Mormon, they're everywhere, It's not just Salt Lake. They're like jam on toast down here.
Now the Mormon Church has a little thing going that irritates some folks.
Doug Laws, state ecclesiastical leader for the Mormon Church.
That is that we absolutely believe God still speaks to man. We don't think that it happened and some folks wrote it in the Bible. God speaks to us today. We believe that. We believe that the prophet of the church has the authority to receive inspiration and revelation from God.
So the spectrum would be on the left. So far left that I'm probably standing by myself is me and the Unitarian Church. Unitarians are by and large humanists, many of whom are atheists. We're not even sure we're a religion, And to my right on the spectrum, to his credit, is Father Roger, a Catholic priest who is well established here. May God bless him. He did not equivocate at all when this happened. He hosted the vigil for Matthew that night.
When it came time to do the vigil, I was very jolted because I wanted to get other ministers involved. So I called them, and they were like, this is something we're not going to do. It was like they were going to stand back and see which way the wind was blowing. And this angered me immensely because we're supposed to stand out as leaders. I thought, wow, what is going on here?
God has set boundaries, and one of your responsibilities is to learn. So what do? You study Scripture, you look to your leaders, and then you sort of get a feel for what the bounds are. Once you sort of have a feel for what the bounds are, then you sort of get a feel for what's out of bounds. There was a proclamation that went out on the family. Family is defined as one man, one woman, and children. That's a family. That's as clear as you can state it. There's no sexual deviancy in the Mormon Church. No leniency. Well, we just think it's out of bounds.
I warn you, you will be mocked. You will be ridiculed for the singularity of your faith. But you let the Bible be your guide. It's in there. It's all in there.
Many of the conservative Christian pastors in town were silent on this. See, conservative Christians, they use the Bible to say, it says here in the Bible. And many Americans believe, and they do, that the Bible is the Word of God. So how are you going to argue with that?
I am a biblicist, which means that the Bible doesn't need me to be true. The Bible is true whether I believe it or not. The Word is either sufficient or it is not.
I moved here on September 15th, and I looked around. Tumbleweed, cement factory, and I thought to myself, what in the hell am I doing in Wyoming? 3 weeks later, I found out what the hell I'm doing in Wyoming.
I had breakfast this morning with a university student named Zubaydah Ullah, an Islamic feminist who likes to do things her own way.
I've lived in Laramie since I was 4. Here, my parents were from Bangladesh. 2 years ago, because I'm Muslim, I decided to start wearing a scarf. That really changed my life in Laramie. Yeah, like people will say things to me like, why do you have to wear that thing on your head? Like, when I go to the grocery store, I'm not looking to give people Islam 101, you know what I mean? And so I'll be like, well, it's part of my religion. And they'll be, this is the worst part, because they'll be like, well, I know it's part of your religion, but why? And it's, how am I supposed to go into the whole doctrine of physical modesty and my spiritual relationship with the Lord standing there with my pop and chips, you know what I mean? You know? It's so unreal to me that, yeah, that I moved from New York to be writing a play about Laramie. And then I was picturing, you're going to be doing a play about my town. You're going to be on stage in New York, and you're going to be acting like you're us. That's so weird.
Hello? Yes, hello. My name is Mila Gronish, and I'm here in Laramie working with the theater company. I recently attended your husband's church, and I was extremely interested in speaking with the Reverend about some of his thoughts about recent events.
Well, I don't think he'll want to talk to you. He has very biblical views about homosexuality. He doesn't condone that kind of violence, but he doesn't condone that kind of lifestyle. You know what I mean? And he was just bombarded with press after this happened, and the media has been just terrible about this whole thing.
Oh, I know. I really understand. It must have just been horrible.
Yes, I think we're all hoping it just goes away.
Well, do you think maybe I could call back and speak with your husband just briefly?
Well, all right. You can call him back tonight at 9 o'clock.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks a lot.
Today, Barbara and I went to the Fireside Bar, which is the last place Matthew Shepard was seen in public.
The Fireside definitely feels like a college bar with a couple of pool tables and a stage area for karaoke night. Still, the few regulars in the late afternoon were hardly the college crowd.
The first person we talked to was Matt Nicholson, the owner of the bar. Well, in 1862, my great-grandfather moved up here. He owned Laramie's first opera house. It was called the Old Blue Front. In 1872, Louisa Grandma Swain cast the first woman ballot in any free election in the world. That's why Wyoming is the equality state. So I want to reestablish my bar business as the Good Time Emporium in the Old Blue Front Opera House. I want to have a gift shop. I want to have a restaurant. I want to have a pool hall and do all that shit. Every night's the ladies' night. So the Fireside is the first step towards the Good Time Emporium in the Old Blue Front Opera.
So what about the night Matthew Shepard was here?
Well, we had karaoke that night. About 20 or 30 people showed up. Matthew came in sitting right where you're sitting. Just sitting and hanging out. I mean, if you want to talk to someone about it, you should talk to Matt Gallup. He's the kid that was bartending that night. And, you got to meet him. His character stands for itself. Is Galloway bartending tonight?
All right, I'm going to make this brief. Quick, get this over with. But it'll be everything. Factual. All right, about 10 o'clock I show up. Clock in, usual time, Tuesday nights. 10:30, Matt Shepard shows up. Alone, sits down, orders a Heineken.
Bill agreed. Friend of Matthew Shepard's.
Matt likes to drink Heineken or nothing else. Heineken, even though you have to pay $9.50 for a six-pack. He'd always drink the same beer.
All right, so what can I tell you about Matt? If I had 100 customers like him, it'd be the most perfect bar I've ever been in. Oh, but I don't mean sexual orientation, no. Just absolute mannerisms, manners, politeness, intelligence. Taking care of me is in tips. You know, everything, just dress nice, clean cut. Some people, you know, please, thank you, offers intellect within their vocabulary. So he kicks it there. Didn't seem like he had any worries or like he was looking for anybody. Just enjoy his drinking and company around. Now, about 11:45, 11:30. 11:45, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson come in. No, I didn't know their names then, but they're the perps. The accused, the perps. Anyway, they walk in, they're very stone-faced, kind of dirty, grungy, rude, gimme, that type of thing. All right, so they walk up to the bar and get this, order a pitcher of beer and pay for it in dimes and quarters. You don't forget something like that, 5, 15 dimes and quarters, that's a freaking nightmare. So anyway, Henderson and McKinney, they didn't seem intoxicated at all. Just came in, got their drink, and took it, back to the pool room. Now about half an hour later, see them walking around again, no beer. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to ask them if they want another because they just paid for the first one in dimes and quarters. I got a real good idea, they don't got any more money.
Romaine Patterson.
Money meant nothing to Matthew because he came from a lot of it. And he would hand over his wallet in 2 seconds because money meant nothing. His shoes might have meant something. They can say it was robbery, I don't buy it, for even an iota of a second.
Next thing I know, I look over and Matthew Shepard or Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson, excuse me, you're talking to Matthew Shepard.
Aaron said that a guy walked up to him and said that he was gay and wanted to get with Aaron and Russ.
Kristen Price, girlfriend with Aaron McKinney.
And that he got aggravated and told him that he was straight, didn't want anything to do with him, and walked off. And that's when he and Russ went to the bathroom and decided to pretend that they were gay and get him in the trunk and rob him. They wanted to teach him a lesson not to come on to straight people.
Okay, no, I absolutely disbelieve and refute that. 100% refute it. I'll give you 2 reasons why. 1, character reference. They said he approached them. Why them? He wasn't approaching anybody else at the bar. They said he's gay, flaming gay, that he's going to come on to people. That's bullshit. Never came on to me. Hello? I don't buy it. 2, territorialism is, well, it's the word that I would use to describe this, and that is that upon their first interaction, they were in Matt's area, the area of the bar in which Matthew had been seen in all night. Now, who approached who by that?
But Matthew was the type of person, he would never not talk to someone for any reason. If someone started talking to him, he'd just be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. He never had a problem just striking up a conversation with anybody.
Matt did feel lonely a lot of times, and knowing that, knowing how gullible Matt could be, he would have walked right into it. The fact that he was there alone that night, without any friends, it made him that much more vulnerable.
So basically, what I'm testifying to, because, well, I am basically the key eyewitness, what I'm testifying to is that I saw Matthew Shepard leave, all right? I saw 2 individuals leave with him. Now, I didn't see their faces, but I saw the backs of their heads. And at the same time that those 2 individuals left, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson were no longer in the bar, so you do the math.
Actually, I think the last one to talk to him was the DJ. Gave him a cigarette or something. His name was Shadow.
I was just sitting there, bullshitting around with my shit, and he stopped me. I stopped him, actually, and he's like, hey, Shadow, da-da-da, and I'm like, what, man, you getting ready to leave? He's like, yeah, man, and this and that, and you could see it. You could see the guys with him, and they stood by the door, and he was looking at them, and they were looking back at him, and we must have sat there and talked for, like 10 minutes, and you see the guys with him, you see them getting, like worried, like, anxious to leave and shit. And when they left, I seen it when they left. It was in a black truck. It was a small truck. The 3 of them sat in the front seat. Matt sat in the middle. And I didn't think nothing of it, I didn't figure that guys was going to be like that.
A friend of Aaron McKinney.
I knew Aaron a long time, I thought Aaron was a good kid. I liked Aaron a lot. That's why I was shocked when I heard this. I was like, I know he's living out far, like with his girlfriend at his trailer park before he told me. And they started dating over the summer, and they must have gotten pregnant as soon as they started dating, because they had a little kid. I mean, he was only 21 years old, running around with a little kid. I mean, that's just the way Aaron was. Like, he always used to wear big clothes, like Tommy Hilfiger, Polo, Gucci. And at the time I knew him, he was just a young kid he just wanted to fit in, you know? Acting tough, acting cool, but you can get into his face about it, and he would back down. He was some kind of scared kid.
Sherry Edmondson.
Russell was just so sweet. He was the one who was the Eagle Scout. I mean, his whole presence was just quiet and sweet. So, of course, it doesn't make any sense to me. I know people snap and whatever. And it wasn't a real intimate relationship. I was just his landlord. I did work with him at the chuck wagon, too. And I remember at the Christmas party, he was totally drunk out of his mind. I mean, we all pretty much just party time. And he didn't get belligerent. He didn't change. His personality didn't change. He was still the same little meek Russell. And I remember him coming up to me and saying, "When you have a chance, Sherry, can I have a dance?" Which we never did get around to doing that, but now I just want to shake him, you know? What were you thinking? What in the hell were you thinking?
The fence. I've been out there 4 times. I've taken visitors. It's become a pilgrimage site of sorts. Clearly, it's a very powerful experience to go up there. It's so stark, it's so empty, and one can't help but think of Matt up there, alone for 18 hours in nearly freezing temperatures, with the view up there, so isolated. And the God, my God, why have you forsaken me comes to mind.
Company member Greg Pirati.
Bill agreed. A friend of Matthew's took us up to see the fence today. The moment I touched it, I broke down. I feel such a strong kinship with this young man. On the way back down, I made sure that no one saw me crying.
Lee Fondakowski.
Greg was crying on the way back. I couldn't bring myself to tears, but I felt the same way. I have an interview this afternoon with Aaron Kreitels. He's the boy who found Matthew out there at the fence. I don't think I'm up for it right now. I'll see if somebody else can do it. Well, I took up on my bicycle about 5:00 p.m. on Wednesday from my dorm. I just kind of felt like going for a ride, so I went up to the top of Cactus Canyon, and I'm not super familiar with that area, so on my way back down, I didn't know where I was going. I was just sort of picking my way to go, which now, it just makes me think that God wanted me to find him, because there's no way that I was going to go that way. So I was in some deep-ass sand, and I wanted to turn around, but for some reason, I kept going. And I went along, and there was this rock on the ground. I just drilled it. I went over the handlebars and ended up on the ground. So I got up, and I was just kind of dusting myself off, and I was looking around, and I noticed something, which ended up to be Matt. He was just lying there by a fence. And I just thought it was a scarecrow. I was like, Halloween's coming up. Thought it was a Halloween gang. So I didn't think much of it. So I got my bike, walked it around the fence that was there. It was a buck-type fence. And got closer to him, and I noticed his hair. And that was a major key to me noticing it was a human being. It was his hair, because I just thought it was a dummy. Seriously, I noticed. I even noticed the chest going up and down. I still thought it was a dummy, you know? I thought it was just like some kind of mechanism. But when I saw hair, I knew it was a human being. So I ran to the nearest house. I ran as fast as I could and called the police.
I responded to the call.
Officer Reggie Flutie.
When I first got there, at first the only thing I could see was partially somebody's feet. And I got out of my vehicle and raced over. I seen what appeared to be a young man, 13, 14 years old, because he was so tiny laying on his back. And he was tied to the bottom end of a pole. I did the best I could. The gentleman that was laying on the ground, Matthew Shepard, he was covered in dry blood all over his head. And there was blood underneath him, and he was barely breathing. He was doing the best he could. I was going to breathe for him, but I couldn't get his mouth open. His mouth just wouldn't open for me. Like I said, he was covered in dry blood all over his head. The only place he didn't have any blood on his face, was what appeared to be where he had been crying down his face. His head was distorted, you know. It did not look normal. It looked as though he had a real harsh head wound.
I was working in the emergency room the night they brought in Matthew Shepherd. A lot of us can't remember the last time we'd seen a patient in that condition before. Those of us who worked in big city hospitals have seen this, but not a lot of us haven't worked in big city hospitals. You don't expect to see something like that. I mean, you expect to see something like that, you know, from a car going down a hill at 80 miles per hour. You expect to see gross injuries or something like that, but not from a person doing this to another person. However, the ambulance report said it was a beating, so we knew.
There was nothing I could do. I mean, if there was anything I could have done to help him, I would have done it, but there was nothing. And I was yelling at him, trying to get something out of him, like, hey, wake up, hello. But he didn't move. He didn't flinch. He didn't anything.
He was tied to the fence. His hands were thumbs out, what we call a cuffing position, the way we handcuff people. And he was bound with a real thin white rope, went around the bottom of the pole about 4 inches up off the ground. His shoes were missing. He was tied extremely tight, so I used my boot knife and tried to slip it between his rope and his wrist. I had to be extremely careful not to harm Matthew any further.
And your first thought is that it's by someone from out of town, you know, someone who comes through and does something like this. Because stuff like this happens, shit happens, and it happens in Laramie. But when you see this done to a person by another person, it offends us. Yeah, I think that's a good word for it. It offends us.
He was bound so tight. I finally got the knife through there. I'm sorry. We pulled him over to his left side. When we did that, he quit breathing. Immediately, I put it back on his back, and that was just enough of an adjustment to cut him free there. I seen the EMS unit trying to get to the location, and once the ambulance got there, we put a neck collar on him, placed him on a backboard, and scooted him from underneath the fence. And then Rob drove him to Ivinson Hospital's emergency room.
Now, the strange thing is that not 20 minutes before the ambulance arrived with Matthew, Aaron McKinney was brought in by his girlfriend. He must have gotten into a fight later on back in town. And at the time, I don't know there's a connection. So there I am, working on Aaron when the ambulance arrives with Matthew. So I asked Aaron to wait, and I could go 2 doors down in the emergency room and begin to work on Matthew. Now, the moment we saw Matthew, it was obvious that his care was beyond our capabilities. So I got on the phone with the neurosurgeon down at Fruita Valley, and he was on the road in about an hour and 15 minutes, I think.
They showed me a picture. Days later, I saw a picture of Matthew, and I would have never recognized him.
It was 2 days later when I found out the connection, and I was very struck. You know, these were 2 kids. They were 2 kids, and they were both my patients. I worked on both of their bodies. And for a moment, I thought, maybe this is how God feels, you know? How we're all his children. He's looking down on all of us, on our bodies and our souls. And I felt a great deal of compassion for both of them.
Matthew's academic advisor.
Well, the news reports started trickling out on Thursday, but no names were mentioned. The brutality of the crime was not mentioned. All that was mentioned was that there was a man, a Laramie man found beaten out on the prairie, basically. Later on in the night, they mentioned his name, and it was like, that's not the Matthew Shepard I know. That's not my student. That's not this person I've been meeting with.
I was in a coffee shop,
Romaine Patterson.
and someone pulled me aside and said, I don't know much, but they say there's been a young man who's been beaten in Laramie, and they said his name was Matthew Shepard. And he said, do you think this could be our Matthew? And I said, well, yeah, I guess it could be our Matthew. So I called up my sister Trish, and I said, tell me what you know. I'm just like, I need to know anything you know, because I don't know anything.
So I'm talking to my sister on the phone, and that's when the whole thing came up on Channel 5 News, and it was just like, boom.
And the news reports kept rolling in. Young University of Wyoming student, his age, his description, and it's just like, oh my God.
And I felt sick to my stomach. It was just instantly sick to my stomach. And I had to tell Romaine, yes, it was Matthew. It was your friend.
Well, I'll tell you what's overwhelming.
Matt Galloway.
And that's it. Friday morning when I first find out about it, I walk out and boom, there it is, right in the branding iron. All right, so I want to know more. Okay, drive to the nearest newsstand, pick up a copy of the Laramie Boomerang. Go home. Before I can even open it up, my boss calls me. He says,
Did you hear what happened?
I go, yeah, I did.
Well, was he in the bar Tuesday night?
I'm like, yeah.
Well, you gotta get down to the bar right now. We gotta talk about this. We gotta discuss what's going to go on.
At this point, I was starting to get upset. But still, the severity wasn't done yet.
It was Thursday afternoon.
Rula and Stacy at Poudre Valley Hospital.
Oh, we just got this kid in from Wyoming who looks like he may be the victim of a hate crime, and we have a lot of reporters here asking questions. So it was decided that we needed a spokesperson. As CEO, I'll do that. We'll gather as much information as we can.
And then I watched the 10 o'clock news that night, where they started speaking about the nature and the seriousness of it.
I'm on the phone with Mickelson, and he's like,
Well, we need to go to the arraignment and identify these guys and make sure that they're at the bar that night.
so we go to the arraignment.
Our focus today turns to Laramie, Wyoming, and the Albany County Courthouse, where Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson are being charged for the brutal beating of Matthew Shepard, a gay University of Wyoming student.
Catherine Connolly.
The arraignment was on Friday, right around noon, and I said I'm just going. I just took off. It was just down the street. So I walked a few blocks, and I went. Has anyone told you about the arraignment? There were probably 100 people from town, and probably as many news media at that point. A lot of the details have come out, like the fact that the perpetrators were kids themselves, local kids that everyone who's from around here has some relationship to. And what I think everyone was really waiting for what would happen when the perpetrators walked in. And what happened? There's 200 people in the room at this point. They walk in their complete orange jumpsuits and their shackles, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was incredibly solemn. I mean, a lot of people were teary at that. Then the judge came in and did a reading. There was a reading of the facts the prosecution has, and it's a statement of the facts. And the reading of the facts was,
The essential facts of the defendants, Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson, met Matthew Shepard at the Fireside Bar, and after Mr. Shepard confided that he was gay, the subjects deceived Mr. Shepard into leaving with them in their vehicle to a remote area. Upon arrival at said area, both subjects tied their victim to a buck fence, robbed him, tortured him, and beat him. Both defendants were later contacted by officers of the Laramie Police Department, who observed inside the cab of their pickup a credit card and a pair of black patent leather shoes belonging to the victim, Matthew Shepard. The subjects.
I mean, it lasted 5 minutes,
Shoes notoriety.
but it kept getting more and more horrific, ending with,
Said defendants left the victim begging for his life. Sergeant Hayes.
Well, how could this happen? I don't think many people understand. Well, hell, I don't even think I understand. I mean, we have one of the most vocal populations of gays in the state. It's pretty much live and let live.
Laramie resident Jeffrey Lockwood.
My secret hope was that they were from somewhere else, so that way you can create that distance. We don't grow children like that here. Well, it's pretty clear we do grow children like that here.
So that was the arraignment, and my response was pretty catatonic. Not eating, not sleeping. Don't leave me alone right now.
More and more details came out about the sheer brutality, the motivations, how this happened. And then, quite frankly, the media descended, and there was no time left to reflect on it at all.
Laramie, Wyoming, often called the Gem City of the Plains, is now at the eye of the storm.
Aaron McKinney, this spread those hunters and came from a course out of town.
But
As
there's
a
no
gay college student, like most of the lives, critical initiatives of the education.
People would like to think that what happens out there was an exception to the rule, but it was an extreme version of what happens in our schools on a daily basis.
It's a tough business, as Matt Shepard knew, and as all his friends know, to be gay in Calgary.
It was huge. It was herds, and we're talking hundreds of reporters, which makes a pretty big dent in this town's population. There are news trucks everywhere on campus, reporters everywhere in town, and we're not used to that type of attention here. We're not used to that kind of exposure.
Tiffany Edwards, local reporter.
These people are predators. Like this one journalist actually caught one of the judges in the bathroom, at the urinal, and was like asking him questions. And the judge was like, "Excuse me, can I have some privacy?" And the journalist was offended that he asked for privacy. I mean, this isn't how journalism started. Like the Gutenberg Press, you know?
I'll tell you what, when hard copy came to tape me, I'd tape them at the exact same time. I have every single word I ever put on tape, so they're trying to do anything funny. They better watch their fucking ass.
Wyoming Governor Jim Geringer, a first-term Republican, up for re-election.
I am outraged and sickened by the heinous crimes committed against Matthew Shepard. I extend my most heartfelt sympathies to the family.
Governor, you haven't pushed hate crime legislation in the past.
Well, I would urge the people of Wyoming against overreacting in any way that might give one group special rights above others. We will wait and see if the vicious beating and torture of Matthew Shepard was motivated by hate.
We've got the beginning of a news story, where they got this graphic in the background, and it says, "Murder in Wyoming." Wyoming's dripping red, like it's got some kind of blood on it, And here we are, we're going, what is this sensationalism? I mean, we had those guys in jail in less than a day. I think that's pretty damn good.
And for us to be more or less maligned,
Eileen and Gail Engine.
that we're not a good community. And we are. The majority of people here are good people.
You get bad apples every once in a while, and I think the gay community took this as an advantage, said, "This is a good opportunity for us to exploit this."
Bill McKinney, father of the one accused.
Now, had this been a heterosexual these two boys decided to take out and rob, this would never have made national news. Now my son is guilty before he's even had a trial.
Look, I do think that the media made people accountable because it made people think. Because people were sitting in their homes like watching TV and listening to CNN and watching Dan Rather going, "Jesus Christ, well that's not how it is here." Well, how is it here?
Matthew Shepard, medical update at 3 p.m. on Saturday, October 10th.
I looked out there, and where there had been 2 or 3 reporters, there were now 10 or 15 still photographers, 20 or 30 reporters, another 10 video cameras. As the parents had just arrived, I barely introduced myself to them. And I was just like, my gosh, what am I going to do?
Mr.
Mr.
Stacy.
Stacy, a few questions, Mr. Stacy.
Matthew Shepard was admitted in critical condition at 9:15 on October 7th. Upon arrival, he was unresponsive and breathing support was being provided. Matthew's major injuries include a fracture from behind the skull to just in front of the right ear, hypothermia. His minor injuries include lacerations to the face and neck. We have had trouble controlling Matthew's temperature in the past 24 hours. It has ranged between 98 and 106 degrees. Matthew's parents were notified, and they arrived at 7 p.m. on October 9th. The following is a statement from them. First of all, we would like to thank the American public for their kind thoughts about Matthew and and their fond wishes for his speedy recovery. We appreciate your prayers and goodwill, and we know they are something Matthew would appreciate too. We also have a special request to the members of the media. Matthew is very much in need of his family at this time, and we ask you respect our privacy as well as Matthew's, so we may concentrate all of our efforts, thoughts, and love on our son. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chambers, one more.
More questions?
Both Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson pled not guilty to charges. Their girlfriends, Chastity Paisley and Kristen Price, also pled not guilty after being charged as accessories after the fact. On our next visit, we spoke with the chief investigating officer on the case, Detective Rob DeBree of the Albany County Sheriff's Department.
Now, the hardest thing was going down the Poop Valley, you know. The hardest thing was going down the Poop Valley and seeing Matthew, you know, touching him. As a homicide detective, you know, you have to deal with the bodies. But seeing him lying there, you know, fighting for his life, I just wanted to sew by the book.
I keep seeing that picture in my head when I found it. Aaron Price. And it's not pleasant whatsoever. I don't want it to be there. I want to, like, get it out. That's the biggest thing for me, is seeing that picture in my head. And it's kind of unbelievable to me, you know, that I happen to be the one who found him. Because the big thing with me, like with my religion, is why did God want me to find him?
I know how to take care of myself. And I was irrationally terrified.
Catherine Conlon.
So what that means is not letting my 12-year-old son walk the streets. Seeing a truck do a U-turn and thinking it's coming after me. Having to stop because I'm shaking so bad. And in fact, the pickup truck did not come after me. But my reaction was to have my heart in my mouth.
Ultimately, no matter how you dice it, I did have an opportunity.
Matt Gallagher.
If I had, you know, amazing hindsight of 2020 to have stopped what occurred, I just kept thinking, you know, I should have noticed. This dude, I shouldn't have been talking to that guy. I should have not had my head down for those 20 seconds when I was washing dishes. Things I could have done. What was I thinking?
So you study. You study for hours and hours and hours, talking to the officer, making sure they understand, talking to the witnesses again, and always coming back to, well, I get this flash, Matthew. I wanted this so tight, there's gonna be no way they were gonna get out of this.
One of the things that happened when we got to the fence,
Reggie Flutie.
it was just such an overwhelming amount of blood, you know, and we tried to wear protective gloves, but we had a real cheap sheriff at the time, and he bought us shit gloves, you know. You put them on, you put them on, you put them on, and they kept breaking. So, you know, finally you just ran out of gloves. So, well, you figure, okay, don't hesitate. That's what your mind tells you all the time. Don't hesitate. So, well, you keep moving, and you try to help Matthew and find an airway, and that's what you do, you know?
The thing I wasn't telling you before was that Reggie is my daughter.
Marge Murray.
When she first told me that she wanted to be a police officer, well, I thought there was not a better choice for her. She could handle whatever came her way.
Probably a day and a half later, the hospital called me and told me that Matthew had HIV. And the doctor said, you've been exposed and you've had a bad exposure. You see, I've been building a lean-to for my llamas, so my hands had a bunch of open cuts on them. So, you know, I was kind of screwed, you know, and you think, oh, shoot.
I'd like to talk about losing sleep.
So I said to the doctor, okay, what do I do? And he said, get up here. So I got up there and we started the ATZ drugs immediately.
Now, they tell me that that's medication that if it's administered 36 hours after you've been exposed, that it can maybe stop your getting the disease.
That is a mean, nasty medicine. Mean. I've lost 10 pounds and a lot of my hair. Yeah.
Quite frankly, I wanted to lash out at somebody. Not Matt. Please understand that not one of us is mad at Matt, but they maybe wanted to squeeze McKinney's head off. And then I think about Henderson. It's just
two absolutely human beings can cause so much grief for so many people. It has been horrible for my entire family, but mostly for her and her kids.
I think it brought home to my girls what their mom does for a
Well, Reggie, I'm going to tell you now.
And both my parents, they both said the same damn thing.
You're quitting this damn job!
And it's just a parent thing, you know, because they're terribly proud of you because you do a good job, whether it's handling a drunk or a case like this. But, you know, yeah, they don't want you getting hurt, you know?
Like I said, there's a right way, there's a wrong way, and then there's Reggie's way.
So finally I said, oh, for God's sakes, lighten up, Francis.
You are so stubborn!
They say I'm stubborn, but you know, I don't believe it. I just think, okay, I've heard your opinion, and now here's mine. I'm 39 years old, you know? What are they gonna do, spank me?
Reggie, don't give me any ideas.
It looks pretty funny, you know? What can they say?
I just hope she doesn't go before me. I couldn't handle that.
University of Wyoming President, Philip Dubois.
Well, this is a young person who read my statement on the Denver Post story and emailed me directly and said,
You and the straight people of Laramie and Wyoming are guilty of the beating of Matthew Shepard, just as the Germans who looked the other way are guilty of the death of the Jews, the gypsies, and the homosexuals. You have taught your straight children to hate their gay and lesbian brothers and sisters. Unless and until you acknowledge that Matt Shepard's beating is not just a random occurrence, not just the work of a couple of random crazies, you have Matthew's blood on your hands.
and it's like, I can't possibly begin to tell you what that does to you, you know? Like, you can't know what this has done to me, and to my family, and to my community.
That first week alone, vigils for Matthew Shepard were held in Laramie, Denver, Fort Collins, and Colorado Springs. Soon after, Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Nashville, Minneapolis, and Portland, Maine, among others. In Los Angeles, 5,000 people gathered, and in New York City, a political rally ended with civil disobedience and hundreds of arrests. And the Poudre Valley Hospital website received close to 1 million visitors from across the country and around the world, all expressing hope for Matthew's speedy recovery. Matthew Shepard Medical Update, Sunday, October 11th at 9 a.m.
As of 9 a.m., Matthew Shepard remains in critical condition. The family continues to emphasize that the media respect their privacy. We would also like to thank the American public for their kind thoughts and well wishes for their son.
Please.
There are certain things when I sit in church,
Jedediah Schultz.
and the Reverend will tell you flat out that he doesn't agree with homosexuality. And I don't know. I think I'm still going through changes. I'm still learning about myself. And I don't think I know enough right now to make a decision that says homosexuality is right, when I've been raised my whole life that it's wrong. And right now, I would say that I don't agree with it. Yeah, that I don't agree with it. But maybe that's just because I couldn't do it. And speaking in religious terms, I don't think that's how God intended it. But I don't hate homosexuals. I'm not going to persecute them, not at all. It's not going to be getting in the way between me and the other person at all. Well, it's preached in schools that being gay is okay, and yada, yada, yada.
Conrad Miller.
And if my kids asked me, I'd sit them down and I'd say, this is what gay people do, and this is what animals do. This is the life, this is the lifestyle, and this is why I believe it's wrong.
There's more gay people around than what you think.
Murdoch.
But it don't bother anybody, because most of them that are gay or lesbian, they know damn well who to talk to. And if you step out of line, you're asking for it. Now, they're saying he made a pass at those two boys. You don't pick up regular people. And I'm not excusing their actions, but it made me feel better to know that it was partially Matthew Shepard's fault, and partially the guys who did it. You know, maybe it's 50-50.
Yes, as a lesbian, I was more concerned for my safety.
Zachy Salmon.
I think we all were, and I think it's because somewhere inside, we all know it could happen to us at any time, you know? I mean, I would be afraid to walk down the street and display any sort of physical affection for my partner. You don't do that here in Laramie.
There's this whole idea. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone.
Jonas Sloniker.
And it's even worked itself into some of the Western literature, you know? Live and let live. Well, let me tell you something. That is just crap. And some of my friends bring it up. And some of my gay friends bring it up. And I tell them that is just crap. Because basically what it boils down to is if I don't tell you I'm a fag, you won't beat the crap out of me. What's so great about that? That's a great philosophy.
We went to the candle vigil,
Subeda Ula.
and it was so good to be with people who felt like shit. I kept feeling like I don't deserve to feel this bad, you know? And someone got up there and said, he said blah, 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 blah. Then he said, I'm saying this wrong, but basically he said, come on, guys, let's show the world that Laramie is not this kind of a town. But it is that kind of a town. If it wasn't that kind of a town, why did it happen here? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lie. Because it happened here. So how could it not be the type of town where this kind of thing happens? Like, that's just totally, like, looking at an Escher painting and getting all confused. Like, it's just totally circular logic. Like, how can you even say that? And we have to mourn this. And we have to be sad we live in a town, or a state, a country where shit like this happens. I mean, these people are trying to distance themselves from this crime. And we need to own this crime, I feel. Everyone needs to own it. We are like this. We are like this. We are like this.
I went to the Fireside Bar one afternoon and I ran into two friends of Aaron McKinney, Shannon and Jen. You knew Aaron well, right?
Yeah, we both did. When I first found out about it, I thought it was really, really awful. I don't know whether Aaron was fucked up or whether he was coming down or what, but Matthew had money. Shit, he had better clothes than I did. Matthew was a little rich bitch.
You shouldn't call him a rich bitch, though. That's not right.
I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything. I'm just saying he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Said the wrong things. And I don't know, I won't lie to you. There were times when I was all messed up on meth and I thought about going out and robbing. I mean, I never did, but it was there. It's easy money.
Aaron's done that thing before. They've both done it. I know one night they went out to Cheyenne to go do it, and they came back with maybe $300. But I don't know if they ever chose like gay people as their particular targets or not, but anyone who looked like they had a lot of money or that, you know, they could outnumber or overpower, it's fair game.
Do you think there was any homophobia at all that contributed to this?
Probably. It probably would have pissed them off that Matthew was gay, because he didn't like the gay people I've seen him interact with. He was fine, as long as, you know, they didn't hit on him, as long as it didn't come up.
As long as they weren't doing it in front of him.
Do you get the impression that he knew any other gay people?
I'm sure they knew people that are gay. I mean, he worked up at KFC, and there are a couple people up there that, yeah. And I'm not saying it's bad or anything, because, I don't know, half the people I know here in Laramie are gay.
What would you guys say to Aaron right now if you had the chance?
First of all, I'd ask him if he'd ever do any more tweak.
Wouldn't I bet? If I saw him now, I'd just be like, man, why did you fuck up like that? I want to make sure he's doing good in there. I'm sure he is, though. I probably just want to hang out with him.
Smoke a bowl with him.
I bet he wants one so bad.
So you guys went to Laramie High School?
Yeah, we both did. Can't you tell? We're a product of our society.
On a day traditionally given over to nothing more profound than collegiate exuberance and the fortunes of the University of Wyoming football team, this community on the High Plains had a different sort of homecoming Saturday, as many searched their souls in the wake of a vicious, apparent anti-gay hate crime.
University President Philip Quam.
It was homecoming weekend. There were a lot of people in town, and there was a parade scheduled. And the students had organized a tack onto the back of the parade, behind a banner supporting Matthew. All of them wearing armbands that the students had made.
I live in the center of town.
Harry Woods.
In My apartment has windows on two opposite streets. One goes north and the other goes south. And that is exactly the homecoming parade route. Now, on the day of the parade, I had a cast on my leg because of a fall. And I was very disappointed because I wanted to walk with the people who were marching for Matthew. And I couldn't. So I watched from my window. It was just... I'm 52 years old, and I'm gay. I've lived here for many years, and I've seen a lot. And I was very moved when I saw the tag on the end of the homecoming parade. About 100 people walking behind a banner for Matthew Shepard. So the parade goes down to the end of the street to make a U-turn, and I walk to the other side of my apartment to watch it come south on the other street.
Well, I was right up in the front where they were holding the banner for Matthew. Let me tell you, I've never had goosebumps for so long in my life. It was just incredible, just this mass of people, you know? Like families, mothers with their 6-year-old kids. They're trying to explain to these 6-year-old kids why they need to wear an armband. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever done in my life.
About 10 minutes went by, and sure enough, the parade started coming south down the other street. As it came down the street, I noticed the most incredible thing. The number of people marching for Matthew grew 5 times. 500 people. Can you imagine? The tag on the end was larger than the entire parade. People kept joining in. And you know what? I started to cry. Tears were just streaming down my face. And I thought to myself, thank God I got to see this in my lifetime. And my second thought was, thank you, Mom.
I haven't been all that involved, per se. My husband's a highway patrolman, so that's really the only way that I've known about it. You know, when I first found out, I thought it was horrible. Nobody deserves that. I don't care who you are, but the other thing that was not brought out, at the same time that happened, that patrolman was killed, and there was nothing. Nothing. They didn't say anything about the old man that killed him. He was driving down the road, and he should have been driving and killed him. It was just a little piece in the paper, and we lost one of our guys. You know, my husband worked with him. This man was brand new on the force. I mean, here's one of ours, and it's just a little piece in the paper? And a lot of it is my feeling that the media is portraying Matthew Shepard as a saint and making him as a martyr. And I don't think he was. I don't think he was that pure. No, I didn't know him, but there's just so many things that I found out about him that it's scary, you know, like about his character and spreading AIDS and a few other things. It's just being the kind of person that he was just barfly, you know? And I think he pushed himself around. I think he flaunted it. Everybody's got their problems. Why they exemplified him, I don't know. What's the difference if you're gay? A hate crime is a hate crime. If you murder someone, you hate them. It has nothing to do with if you're gay or a prostitute or whatever. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Company member Lee Fondakowski.
This is one of the last days on our second trip to Laramie. We've been conducting interviews non-stop, and we're exhausted.
We're to meet with Father Roger at 7:30 this morning. I was hoping we could skip it all together, but we must carry through to the end. So here we go, 7:30 a.m. 2 queers and a Catholic priest.
Matthew Shepard has served us well. You understand him? He served us well. Now, I do not mean to condemn Matthew's perfection, but I cannot think of one other person that has done more for this community. Now, I won't sit here and pretend that when it came time to do the vigil, I was some big man, no fear. No, sir. I was scared. Very vocal in this community, and I thought maybe we should call the bishop and ask his permission to do the vigil. But then I thought, hell no. The bishop's permission does not make it correct. Now, I'm not knocking bishops, But what is correct is correct. Now, you people are here on a search. I will do this. I will trust that if you write a play of this, that you say it right. You must do your best to say it correct. Don't make matters worse. You think violence is what they did to Matthew. Now, they did do violence to Matthew. But, every time that you're called a fag, or a lead,
Or a dyke.
or dyke, yes. That too is violence. That is the seed of violence. And I would resent it immensely if you used anything I said to somehow cultivate this. I would resent it immensely. You must understand.
Thank you, Father, for saying that.
Just deal with what is true. You know what is true. You must do your best to say it correctly.
Andrew Gomez.
Yeah, I was in there. I was in prison with there in December. Got thrown over Christmas, assault and battery, 2 counts. I don't want to talk about it. So I was sitting there trying to eat my Christmas dinner, trying to eat my stuffing, my motherfucking bread, my little roll and whatnot. And I was like, hey homie, tell me something. Tell me something if you please. Why did you... Okay, I gotta think about the way I worded this. I was like, why did you kill a faggot if you're destined to be a faggot later, I mean, think about it. He's either gonna die or he's gonna get humped a lot. So why would you do that? I don't understand that. And you know what he said to me? This is what he said, honest to God. He tried to grab my dick. That's what he said, man. He's dumb, dog. He's not gonna think it was nothing. And now what I heard? When they heard Aaron was coming to prison, they started auctioning that boy's ass off on the max where those killers go. They're like, auction that boy's ass off. They're like, put inside 5, 6, 7 cartons of cigarettes, man. Auction that boy's ass off. Man, I'd be scared to go to prison if I was them boys.
Hello? Reverend? Yes. Hello. I believe that your wife told you about why I'm contacting you? Yes, you did. Let me tell you, I don't know that I really want to talk to anyone about any of this incident. I am somewhat involved, and I just don't think that, yes, I completely understand, and I don't blame you. No, I went to your services on Sunday. You went to the services? Yes, I did. On Sunday? Yes, this past Sunday. Did I meet you? Yes, you welcomed me at the beginning, I believe. I see. Well, let me tell you, I'm not afraid to be controversial or to speak my mind, though that is not necessarily the views of my congregation per se. As I said, I'm somewhat involved with the people on the case. Wales' girlfriend of the accused is a member of our congregation, and one of the accused is visited. Now, those 2 have forfeited their lives. We've been after the 2 I've mentioned for ages, trying to get them to live right, to do right. Now, one of them's on the suicide watch, and I'm working with them until they put him in the chair and turn on the juice. I will work for his salvation. Now, I believe that they deserve the death penalty. I will try to deal with them spiritually. Right, I understand. Now, as for the victim, I know that that lifestyle is legal. But I will tell you one thing. I hope that as Matthew Shepard was tied to that fence, that he had time to reflect on a moment when someone had spoken the word of the Lord to him, and that before he slipped into a coma, he had a chance to reflect on his lifestyle. Thank you, Reverend. I appreciate your speaking with me.
I just just going to bed when I got a phone call from Margot, our chief operating officer. His blood pressure's beginning to drop. Well, let's wait and see. And it was about 10 after when I got another phone call. He just died. So I got dressed and then came into the ICU, and Judy was there, and she put her arms around me, and I put my arms around her. We just stood there for like 10 minutes, honestly, because, well, what else do we do? And then we started talking about things that you just... Dennis, I have to go out there, and I have to tell the whole world what's happened. Because by this point we knew it was the world. It was the whole world. So Judy wrote down what she wanted me to say. And at 4 o'clock a.m., I went out.
Matthew Shepard, medical update for 4:30 a.m., Monday, October 12th.
At 12 midnight on October 12th, Matthew Shepard's blood pressure began to drop. His family was immediately notified. They were already at the hospital. At 12:53, Matthew Shepard died. His family was at his bedside. The family did release the following statement. The family again asked me to express their sincerest gratitude to the entire world for the overwhelming response to their son. The family was grateful that they did not have to make a decision regarding whether or not to continue life support for their son. Like a good son, he was sparing to the end and removed guilt and stress from the family. He came into the world prematurely. Left the world prematurely. Matthew's mother said, "Go home. Give your kids a hug. And don't let them say goodbye without telling them that you love them." And then, I don't know how I let it happen. I lost it on national television. But you know, we've been up for like 72 hours, and I had just gone home and gone to bed for like half an hour, and then come back in, and just in a moment of complete brain deadness, you know, I thought about my own 4 daughters, and go home, hug your kids, and she doesn't have her kid anymore. And there I am, you know, I'm thinking, this is so late. And then the letters started to come in, and the emails. And for the most part, they were very kind, but I did get this one guy, and he said, "Do you cry like a baby on television for all of your patients, or just the faggots?" And as I said before, homosexuality is not a lifestyle with which I agree, but having been thrown into all of this, I didn't understand the magnitude with which some people can hate. And overall, they were very kind. But there was only 2 or 3 like that. For the most part, they were thanking us for our care and concern for Matthew. Well, Matthew had our care, our concern, our compassion from the moment he got here.
I spoke with Doc today. Told him we would be returning soon for the trials of Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson. This is what he had to say. Now I'll tell you what. If they put those 2 boys to death, that will go against everything Matthew would be thinking about on them. Because Matthew would not want those two boys to die. He just want to leave them with a sense of hope. H-O-P-E. Just like the whole world hoped for Matthew's speedy recovery. You see, the whole thing ropes around hope. H-O-P-E.
The morning of the funeral, it was snowing so bad. Just these big, huge, wet snowflakes. And there were hundreds of people, just this mass of people, all dressed in black, and all holding umbrellas. They had two churches. One was for the family, close friends, invited guests, people of that nature. And the other was for everyone else who wanted to be there. Across the street, well, there were hundreds of people who couldn't fit into either of the churches. And so across the street, they had this park. And that park was full.
The liturgy today is an Easter liturgy. It finds its meaning in the resurrection. The service invites your full participation. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray.
And I guess it was like the worst storm that they've ever had.
Tiffany Edwards.
Like that anybody could ever tell. Like trees fell down and the power went out for a couple of days because of it. And I just thought, it's like the forces of the universe at work, you know? Whatever higher spirit that blows storms was blowing this storm.
For our brother Matthew, let us pray to our Lord Jesus Christ, who said, I am the resurrection and the life. We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
My most striking memory from the funeral
Carrie Drake, Casper Star Tribune.
is seeing the Reverend Fred Phelps from Kansas. That scene go up in the park.
Hear us.
Do you believe in the Bible? Do you believe you're supposed to separate the precious from the vile? You don't believe that part of the Bible. You stand there ignorant of the fact that the Bible, 2 times for every verse it talks about God's love, it talks about God's hate.
A bunch of high school kids who got out early came over and started yelling at the protesters, the Fred Phelps people. And across the street you had people lining up for the funeral.
Hear us, Lord.
Well, I remember a guy. I remember the skinhead coming over, and he was dressed in leather and spikes everywhere. And he came over from across the street where the protest was, and he came into the crowd. And I thought, this is going to be an ugly confrontation. But instead, he came over, and he started leading them in Amazing Grace.
We wouldn't be here if this was just another murder the state was going to deal with. The state deals with hundreds of murders every year. But this murder is different because the fags are bringing us out here. Trying to make Matthew Shepard into a poster boy for the gay lifestyle. And we're going to answer it. It's just that simple.
6 months later, the company returned to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, the first of the 2 perpetrators. It was to be a capital murder trial. But when we arrived at the Albany County Courthouse, Fred Phelps was already there.
You don't like that attribute of God. That perfect attribute of God. Well, we love that attribute of God, and we're going to preach it. Because God's hatred is pure. It's pure. It's a determination. It's a determination that he's going to send some people to hell. That's God's hatred.
But so was Romaine Patterson.
After seeing Fred Phelps protesting at Matthew's funeral and finding out that he was coming to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, I decided that someone needed to stand toe-to-toe with this guy and show the differences. And I think at times like these, when we're talking about hatred as much as the nation is right now, that someone needs to show that there is a better way of dealing with that kind of hatred. So our idea is to dress up like angels. And so we have designed an angel outfit where our wings are huge. They're like big-ass wings. And there'll be 10 to 20 of us that are angels. And what we're going to do is we're going to encircle Phelps. And because of our big wings, we are going to completely block him. So this big band of angels comes in. And we don't say a fucking word. We just turn our backs to him and we stand there. We're a group of people bringing forth a message of peace and love and compassion. We're calling it angel action. Yeah, this 21-year-old little lesbian is ready to walk the line with him.
Those old preachers laid their hands on me. It's called an ordination. It's a charge. Mine was from Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud. Spare not. Raise thy voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgressions.
And I knew that my angels were going to be taking the front of everything he had to yell and say. I mean, we were going to be blocking his view and he was going to be pissed off to all hell. So I went out and bought all my angels earplugs.
The court is now in session.
Roommate Patterson's sister, Trish Stager.
So as soon as they started with jury selection, everybody was coming into my shop with, oh, I don't want to be on this trial. I hope they don't call me. Or, oh my God, I've been called. How do I get off? Just wanting to get as far away from it as they could. Very fearful that they were going to have to be a part of that trial. And then I heard Henderson had to sit in the courtroom while they questioned the prospective jurors. And one of the questions that they asked is, would you be willing to put this person to death? And I understand that a lot of the comments were, yes, I would.
Yes, I would, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Yeah.
Well, can you imagine hearing that? Just juror after juror after juror.
Mr. Henderson, you entered a not guilty plea earlier, but I understand you wish to change that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You understand the recommended sentence for this is 2 life sentences.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that these 2 life sentences may run concurrently, or they may run consecutively?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Henderson, I will now ask you what you wish to plead, guilty or not guilty.
Guilty.
Before the court decides whether or not the sentence will be consecutive or concurrent, I understand there's a statement to be made by at least one individual.
This is an excerpt from a statement made to the court by Lucy Thompson.
As the grandmother and person who raised Russell, along with the rest of my family, we have written the following statement. Our hearts ache for the pain and suffering that the Shepherds have went through. We have prayed for your family since the very beginning. Many times throughout the day I have thought about Matt. And you'll continue to be in our thoughts and prayers as we know that your pain will never go away. You have showed us such mercy in allowing us to have this plea. And we are so grateful that you're giving us all this opportunity to live. Your Honor, we as a family hope that as you sentence Russell, you will do so concurrently to life terms. For the Russell we know and love, we humbly plead, Your Honor, to not take Russell completely out of our lives forever.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson, you have the constitutional right to make a statement if you wish to do so. Is there anything you would like to say?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Mr. and Mrs. Shepherd, there's not a moment that goes by that I don't see what happened that night. And I'm very sorry for what I did, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Your Honor, I understand that what I did was very wrong, and I regret my actions greatly, and I'm ready to pay my debt for what I did.
Mr. Henderson, you drove that vehicle that took Matthew Shepard to his death. You bound him to that fence that he might be more savagely beaten and might not be able to tell his tale. You left him out there for 18 hours, knowing full well that he was there, perhaps having an opportunity to save his life, yet you did nothing. Mr. Henderson, this court does not believe that you really feel any true remorse for your part in this matter, and I wonder whether or not you will realize the gravity of what you have done. The court finds it appropriate, therefore, that the sentence be ordered as follows. As to count 3, that be felony murder with robbery, that you serve a period of imprisonment the term of your natural life. On count 1, that be kidnapping, that you serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. Sentencing for count 1 to run consecutive to sentencing for count 3.
After the hearing, we spoke with Russell Henderson's Mormon home teacher.
known the Henderson family for 38 years. Russell's only 21, so I've known him his entire life. I ordained Russell a priest of the Mormon church, so you can imagine when I heard of his disbelief. After the sentencing, the church held a disciplinary council, and the result of this was to excommunicate Russell from the church. What that means is your name is stricken from the record, so you just disappear. And this hurt Russell. It hurt him to realize how serious a transgression he had committed. But I will not desert Russell. That is a matter of my religion, my friendship with that family.
Before we left Laramie, we met again with Rebecca Hilliker at the theater department. She's producing Angels in America this year at the university.
I think that's the focus the university has taken, is that we have a lot of work to do. And we have an obligation to find ways to reach our students. And the real question is, how do we move? How do we reach a whole state where there's some real deep-seated hostility towards gays? How do we reach them? This is the beginning. And guess who's auditioning for the lead?
My parents.
Jedediah Shaw.
My parents were like, so what plays are you doing at school this year? And I was like, Angels in America, and I went through the whole list of plays. And my mom was like, Angels in America, isn't that play, that scene you did in high school? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, huh, so you gonna audition for it? And I was like, yeah. And we got into this huge argument, and the best thing I knew I had on them was that they had just gotten out of seeing me at a performance of Macbeth that night. And like on stage, like I murdered this little kid and like Lady Macduff and these other two guys. And my mom kept saying, well, you know homosexuality is a sin. She kept saying that, and I was like, Mom, you just saw me play a murderer on stage tonight, and you didn't seem to have a problem with that. I tell you, I've never prepared myself this much for an audition in my life. Never, ever. Not even close.
Not have much to do with the gay society here in Laramie.
Detective Sergeant Rob Debris.
It wasn't until we really started investigating the case, and talking to the gay people and getting to know their underlying fears that it really hit home. I mean, this is America. You don't have the right to feel that fear. And I know some people are going to hold on to the old ideals, and I was probably one of them 14 months ago. But I'm not going to listen anymore, and I don't got to take it. If you don't like what I'm saying, that's fine. The door goes both ways. Don't listen to me. I've already lost a couple of buddies about it. But I know I'll feel more comfortable, and I'm going to sleep tonight.
Well, you're tested every 3 months.
Reggie Flutie.
Then I was able to have the DNA work done. They drew the blood up at Fort Collins and then flew it to Michigan and had all the DNA work there done. And, well, which was a week later, I found out I was negative for good.
I'll tell you, we were all on our knees saying Hail Mary.
So you were just elated, you know, and you think, thank God.
So what's the first thing she does?
I stuck my tongue right in my husband's mouth. You know, because you're just so happy, you know, you're just so happy. And you think, yeah, I hope I did this service well. I hope I did it with some kind of integrity, you know, and you're just so happy. And oh, my daughters, they just bawled.
They were so happy.
Oh, and the force.
Oh boy.
We went out and got shit-faced. Oh, they all bought me drinks too. It was great. And, oh, you know, I kissed everybody that walked through the door.
Reggie, they don't need to know that.
I didn't care if they were male or female. They each got a kiss right on the lips.
Yeah, what part of what I just told you don't you understand?
Oh, get over it, man.
Almost a year to the day that Matthew Shepard died, the trial for Aaron James McKinney was set to begin.
I guess the question on most of your minds is how the McKinney case will proceed.
Cal Mamuka, prosecuting attorney.
And it is the decision of the county attorney's office that this will definitely be a death penalty case.
Part of me wants McKinney to get it, but I'm not that proud of it. I've been on and off and off and on, and I don't know what I would do. I'm too personally involved.
Oh, I believe in the death penalty 100%. You know, because I want to make sure that guy's ass dies. This is one instance where I truly believe with all my heart, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
I don't know about the death penalty. I just want to make sure he never leaves Rawlins Penitentiary ever again. I'll pay my nickel a day, my little percentage of tax or whatever, my nickel a day, and Make sure he never sees society again, and definitely never comes into my bar again.
I don't believe in the death penalty. It's too much. To take one person's life as redemption for having killed another? Two wrongs don't make a right.
How can I protest if the shepherds want McKinney dead? I just can't interfere with that. On a personal level, I knew Aaron in grade school. We never called him Aaron, he was called AJ. How can we put AJ McKinney? How can we put AJ McKinney to death?
Right now, I think our most important teachers must be Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney. You see, I don't think many people are willing to let them be their teachers. You know, how did you learn this? How did we as a society teach and do this? I think they must be our teachers. It would be wonderful, I think, if tomorrow the judge said, in addition to your sentence, you must tell your story. You must tell your story.
All rise. State of Wyoming versus Aaron James McKinney. Docket number 6381. The Honorable Barton Arvoy presiding. The court is now in session.
During the trial of Aaron McKinney, the prosecution played a tape recording of his confession.
Rob 3 of the County Sheriff's Office, with the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court of law.
The following is an excerpt of that confession.
Okay, guys, you and Russ, you got to the fireside. You're at the fireside by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Where'd you go after you leave the fireside?
Some kid wanted to ride home.
What'd you look like?
Like a queer. Such a queer dude.
He looks like a queer.
Yeah. Like a fag, you know?
Okay, and how'd you meet him?
Well, he wanted to ride home. Thought, dude's drunk, let's take him home.
When did you and Russ talk about jacking him up?
Kind of talked about it at the bar.
Okay, what happened next?
Right? We drive out past Walmart. Puts his hand on my leg. Puts his hand on my genitals. I'm like, look, I'm not a fucking faggot, all right? You touch me again, you're gonna get it. Now, I don't know what he was trying to do, but I beat him up pretty bad. I think I killed him.
What'd you beat him with?
I blacked out. My fists. The pistol, the butt of the gun. All right, I had a few drinks. It was like someone else was doing it. I could see it, but I couldn't stop it.
What's the first thing you said or did in the truck that made you beat him?
He put his hand on my leg and slid it up like he was going to grab my balls.
When that defense team argued that McKinney did what he did because Matthew made a pass at him, I just wanted to vomit. Because that's like saying that it's okay. It's like the Twinkie defense. When that guy killed Harvey Milk in Moscow, it's the same thing.
As much as part of me didn't want the defense of them saying that it was a gay bashing or gay panic, part of me is really grateful because I was scared that in the trial they were going to try to say that it was a robbery or that it was about drugs. So when they used gay panic as their defense, I felt this is good. If nothing else, the truth is coming out. The truth is going to be told.
Now, did he ever try to defend himself against you or hit you back?
He tried his little swings or whatever, but he wasn't very effective.
Okay, how many times did you hit him inside the truck before you guys stopped where you left him?
2, 3. Probably 3 times with the pistol. And then another 6 with the gun.
Did he ask you to stop?
But yeah, he was getting the shit kicked out of him.
What did he say?
After he asked us to stop, pretty much all he was doing was screaming.
So Russ kind of dragged him over to the fence, I'm assuming, and tied him up?
Yeah. Russ was laughing at first, but he got pretty scared.
Matt, conscious when Russ tied him up.
Yeah, I remember. I didn't want him to read my license plate because I didn't want him to tell the police. So I told him to turn around, not look at it. Then I asked him what it said, and he read it. So I hit him a few more times.
Just to be sure. So obviously you don't like gay people.
No, I don't.
Would you say you hate them?
I wouldn't say I hate it, but you know, when they start to come on to me, I get pretty aggravated.
Did he threaten you?
Gated?
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay. Now, can you answer me one more thing? Why did you take his shoes?
I don't know. Now I'll never see my son again.
I don't know. Probably go to court sometime today.
What, I'm just going to walk in and plead guilty or not guilty today?
No, you're just going to be arraigned today.
So this kid, is he going to die for sure?
Well, there's no doubt Mr. Shepard's going to die.
So what, they're going to give me life in prison or just the death penalty now and get it over with?
Well, that's not our job. That's the judge's job. And the jury.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn to try the above entitled case, after having well and truly tried the matter, unanimously find as follows. As to the charge of kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of aggravated robbery, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of first-degree murder kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty.
Aaron McKinney was found guilty of felony murder, which meant that the jury could give him the death penalty. That evening, Judy and Dennis Shepard were approached by McKinney's defense team, who pled for their client's life. The prosecution indicated that they would defer to the family's wishes as to whether or not to pursue the death penalty. The following morning, Dennis Shepard made a statement to the court. Here is some of what he said.
My son Matthew did not look like a winner. He was rather uncoordinated and wore braces from the age of 13 until the day he died. However, in his all too brief life, he tried to show that he was a winner. On October 6, 1998, my firstborn son tried to show the world that he could win again. On October 12, 1998, my firstborn son and hero lost. On October 12, 1998, my firstborn son and hero died, 50 days before his 22nd birthday. I keep wondering the same thing when I first saw him in the hospital. What would he have become? How could he have changed his part of the world to make it a better place? Matt officially died in a hospital in Fort Collins, Colorado. He really died tied to a fence on the outskirts of Laramie. You, Mr. McKinney, and your friend Mr. Henderson left him out there. But he wasn't alone. He had his lifelong friends with him, friends he had grown up with. Probably wondering who these friends were. First, he had the beautiful night sky, the same stars and moon we used to look at from the telescope. And then he had the daylight and the sun to shine on him. Through it all, he was breathing in the scent of the pine trees from the snowy range. He heard the wind, the ever-present Wyoming wind, for the last time. And he had one more friend with him. He had God. I feel better knowing that he wasn't alone. Matt's beating, hospitalization, and funeral focused worldwide attention on hate. Good is coming out of evil. People have said enough is enough. I miss my son. but I'm proud to say that he is my son. Judy has been quoted as being against the death penalty. It has been stated that Matthew was against the death penalty. Both of these statements are wrong. Matt believed that there were some crimes and incidences that justified the death penalty. I too believe in the death penalty. I would like nothing more than to see you die, Mr. McKinney. But this is time to begin the healing process. To show mercy to someone who refused to. To show mercy to someone who refused to show any mercy. Mr. McKinney, I'm going to grant you life as hard it is for me to do so because of Matthew. Every time you celebrate Christmas, the 4th of July, birthday, remember that Matt isn't. Every time you wake up in your prison cell, remember that you had the opportunity and the ability to stop your actions that night. You robbed me of something very precious, and I will never forgive you for that. Mr. McKinney, I give you life in the memory of one who no longer lives. May you have a long life. And may you thank Matthew every single day for it.
Me and Debris hugged and cried, and everybody had tears in their eyes, and you're just so thankful, you know? And Mr. Shepherd was crying, and that got me bawling, and everybody just...
It's all we lived and breathed for a year. David. It's been my case, David. Now it's over.
Maybe now we can go on and quit being stuck, you know?
It just hit me today. The minute I got out of the courthouse. That the reason that God wanted me to find him is so that he didn't have to die out there alone. If I wouldn't have came along, they wouldn't have found him for a couple of weeks at least. So it makes me feel really good that he didn't have to die out there alone.
I'm glad it's over. Really, I am. Testifying in that trial was one of the hardest things I had ever had to do. And I love the stage. Really, I do. But you see, it's hard because you got lawyers over here and asking you questions, but you got to send the answers this way to the jury. You gotta, in effect, funnel the answer this way. So what you gotta do is make some kind of a funneling system. And that's hard for me because, I'm a natural conversationalist. So if somebody asks you a question, I like to, look them in the eye when I give them a response. So it's tough when you have to scoot over, literally change your position and funnel the answer this way. However, I was able to do this several times over the course of the testimony. On our last trip to Laramie, I had the pleasure of seeing Jedediah Schultz in the role of Prior in Angels in America. After the performance, we spoke.
I didn't, for the longest time, let myself become personally involved in the whole Matthew Shepard thing, It just didn't seem real. It seemed way blown out of proportion. Matthew Shepard was just a name instead of an individual. I don't know. It's just so weird, it's just so weird, man. I just feel bad, for all this stuff I said last year, for the person I used to be. And that's why I want to hear those interviews from last year when I said all that stuff, because I just can't believe I ever said that stuff, about homosexuals. I can't believe I ever let that stuff make me think that you were different from me.
This is Romaine Patterson.
Well, a year ago, I wanted to be a rock star. That was my goal. And now it's obviously changed in the fact that throughout the past year, I really realized my role in taking my part. So now instead of going to school to be in music, I'm going to go for communications and political science. Because I have a career in political activism. Actually, I recently just found out that I'm going to be honored in Washington, D.C. from the Anti-Defamation League. And whenever I think about the Angels or any of the speaking that I've done, Matt gave me Matt's like guiding this little path with his light for me to walk down, and he just, every time we get to like a door, he opens it, and he says, okay, next step. And if I get to be a rock star on the side, okay.
This is Jonas Sloniker.
Change is not an easy thing, and I don't think people around here were up for it. Town got what they wanted. Those two boys got what they deserved. Justice has been served. The OK corral. The bills have been shot down. The prostitutes put out in the train. Towns been cleaned up, and we don't got to talk about it anymore. Let me tell you something. It's been a year since Matthew Shepard died. They ain't passed shit in Wyoming. Not any town, not at the state level, not anybody, not anywhere. Not one single anti-discrimination law. Not one bit of hate crime legislation. So what's come out of it? What's come out of this? That's been concrete or lasting?
We all said we'd meet again, one last time at the fence.
I've been up to that site in my limousine, okay, and I remember the night he and I drove around together. And I remember him saying to me, Laramie sparkles, doesn't it? And where he was up there, I mean, if you sit exactly where he was up there, Laramie sparkles. With a low-lying cloud, it's the blue lights bouncing up off the clouds off the airport, and it goes. I mean, it just blows you away. You know, and Matt was right there in that spot, and I can just imagine, I can just see in his eyes. The last thing that he saw on this beautiful earth were those sparkling lights.
We've spent the last 2 days packing over a year's worth of materials and saying our goodbyes. We've been here 6 times and conducted over 200 interviews. Jedediah cried when we said goodbye.
Marge wished us luck, and when we asked her how Laramie would feel seeing a play about itself, she said,
Oh, I think we'd enjoy it. To show it's not the hellhole of the earth might be nice. That is up to how you portray us. That in turn is up to how Laramie behaves.
As we were getting off the phone, she said to me,
Now you take care. I love you, honey.
Doc asked me to ghostwrite a book about the whole event. Matt Galloway offered me or anyone else a place to stay if and when we decided to come back to Laramie. He also seemed interested as to whether there'd be any open auditions for the play.
We left Laramie at 7 in the evening. On the way to Denver, I took a look in the rearview mirror for one last look at the town.
and I will do this. I will trust. But if you write a play of this, if you say it right, you must say it correct.